All right, so today we're going to deep dive into something I think a lot of you will find interesting. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, but not the kind of, rah-rah stuff you see everywhere.
Yeah, not the super glamorous Instagram version.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going deeper. We're going to get into what it really takes.
All right, the nitty gritty.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking at some insights from this French entrepreneur named Fabien Descent. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff online.
Okay, cool. So he's got this YouTube video, and I think it's so interesting because it's refreshingly honest.
Yeah.
There's no sugarcoating at all. He really digs into the realities of the entrepreneurial journey.
He does. He's got this great way of pulling back the curtain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those Instagram perfect success stories.
Right.
He's kind of hold on a second. Let's talk about what's really going on here.
Yeah. I love that. And the first thing I think of when I hear entrepreneurship is that whole be your own boss thing. Right. That seems to be the big draw for a lot of people.
It is. It's the ultimate freedom,
right? Total freedom. No more answering to anybody.
And Descent actually kind of flips that on its head.
Really?
He's you think you're going to answer to nobody?
Yeah.
It's no, you're actually accountable to way more people than the average employee.
Okay. So instead of one boss, you've got
you've got clients, deadlines, employees, if you have them, investors.
Oh, wow.
Everyone's got their hand in the pie.
Okay. That's a really interesting perspective. So it's not about a lack of bosses. It's about who those bosses are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he even gives this example about taking a day off, which sounds great in theory, but for an entrepreneur, that day off could mean missed deadlines, unhappy clients, direct hit to your income.
Right. So it's not just you're slacking off. It's your whole business is suffering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a totally different kind of pressure.
Yeah. It's not just about pleasing your manager. It's about keeping your whole venture afloat.
Yeah. And on top of that, he's not shy about saying that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster.
Okay.
It's not all going to be wins.
Right.
There's going to be losses, setbacks, moments where you're what am I even doing?
So how do you deal with that? I mean, if you're constantly facing these high stakes situations, it must take a certain kind of personality to handle that.
He really emphasizes resilience and mental fortitude. Being able to bounce back from those tough times, learning from your mistakes, and adapting to whatever gets thrown your way.
So it's you got to be tough.
Yeah, you got to be tough. You got to be able to roll with the punches. He even compares it to being an athlete.
Oh, interesting.
Constantly training, pushing yourself to the limit.
That's a great analogy because you're not just showing up on game day, right?
Right.
You're putting in the work behind the scenes. You're constantly striving to improve.
Yeah, you got to have that dedication.
Yeah, even athletes need rest. What about burnout?
Well, he's very upfront about the workload. He's talking 13, 14-hour workdays, especially in those early stages.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's intense.
It is. But he really frames it as this deep investment. Not just grinding for the sake of it. He's talking about entrepreneurs who are truly passionate about their ventures.
Right.
It's that passion that fuels those long hours.
But there has to be some kind of balance, right? You can't just pour everything into your work and have nothing left for yourself.
That's the question every entrepreneur has to grapple with.
Yeah.
And it leads into another point that Descent makes, and that's the risk involved. He does not sugarcoat the fact that going all in on a business venture can have serious consequences.
Yeah. There's a lot on the line financially, but I imagine it's more than that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's very blunt about it. He talks about entrepreneurs facing financial health problems even worse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it can get really dark.
That's a sobering thought. It makes you realize that this isn't just about following your dreams. It's about understanding the potential downsides and being prepared to face them.
Absolutely. And that's where it's important to distinguish between the true entrepreneurial spirit and the social media illusion.
Because there's a big difference between actually building something and just looking successful on Instagram.
Exactly. He calls out all those flashy displays of wealth, the rented Lamborghinis, the extravagant vacations. He's that's not what real entrepreneurship is about.
So what is it about, if it's not about chasing the money and the fame, what's driving these successful entrepreneurs?
He talks about a reinvestment mindset, plowing profits back into the business, building a strong team, constantly seeking growth. And beyond the financial aspect, it's about creating something of value, solving a problem, having a lasting impact.
It sounds like it's more about purpose than profit.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that purpose often stems from genuine passion. Descent himself talks about finding immense satisfaction in the entrepreneurial journey, despite the challenges. He's not in it for the quick buck. He's in it to build something he believes in.
That makes me think, what about those like online business models that promise quick riches?
Oh, yeah.
Like drop shipping or affiliate marketing. Does Descent address those at all?
He does, and he's pretty critical of them. We should unpack that a little more, but first, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Yeah, those online business models that promise like, a fast track to wealth.
Right.
Descent sees a real disconnect there between that kind of hype and the reality of building a sustainable business.
So what's his take on those models, like drop shipping, where you're basically selling someone else's product?
Right.
Or affiliate marketing, where you get like a commission for promoting other companies?
He sees them as problematic for a few reasons.
Okay.
First, he thinks they set unrealistic expectations. You see all these ads promising you can make thousands of dollars a month working from your laptop on a beach.
Right.
But that's rarely the reality.
It's the classic get-rich-quick scheme repackaged for the digital age.
Exactly. And it preys on people's desire for like a shortcut.
Yeah.
An easy path to success. But real entrepreneurship, as we've been discussing, it takes grit. It takes dedication, a willingness to weather those inevitable storms.
It's not about making a quick buck. It's about building something lasting, something you can be proud of.
And that's his second critique.
Okay.
Descent argues that these models often lack a core value proposition. You're not creating your own product or service. You're just reselling someone else's.
So where's the innovation? Where's the unique contribution?
That's the question he raises. And he worries that these models encourage like a short-term transactional mindset.
Yeah.
Rather than a focus on building a brand and a loyal customer base.
It's the difference between building a business and just flipping products.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that brings us to his third point.
Okay.
Descent believes that these get-rich-quick schemes ultimately do a disservice to the entrepreneurial community as a whole.
How so?
By perpetuating this false image of what it takes to succeed, they set people up for failure and disillusionment. When someone buys into that hype and then inevitably faces setbacks, it can tarnish their whole perception of entrepreneurship.
It reinforces the idea that it's all about luck or finding some magic formula rather than putting in the hard work and building something of value.
Descent's message is clear. Be wary of anyone promising easy money or overnight success.
Yeah.
Do your research, understand the market, and focus on building a sustainable business with a strong foundation.
It's like anything else. There's no substitute for hard work and dedication.
Exactly.
And speaking of dedication, Descent talks about entrepreneurship almost as a 247 state of mind.
He does. He compares it to being like a top-level athlete, always training, always pushing yourself to improve.
Right.
You're constantly thinking about your business, even when you're not actively working on it.
So it's not just a job, it's a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he talks about the importance of strategic rest and recovery.
Okay.
He sets goals for himself and only allows for downtime once he's hit those milestones.
It's like rewarding yourself for those small wins along the way. It helps to keep you motivated and prevents burnout.
And speaking of motivation, what really stood out to me was the genuine passion Descent has for what he does.
Yeah.
It shines through in everything he says. He's not driven by money or fame, but by the satisfaction of building something meaningful, solving problems, making a positive impact.
And that ties back to his critique of those quick money schemes.
Right.
They often lack that sense of purpose, that deeper motivation that drives true entrepreneurs.
He's advocating for a different kind of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
One that's rooted in passion, purpose, and a long-term vision. He wants people to understand that it's not about chasing trends or exploiting loopholes.
Yeah.
It's about creating something of value, something that you believe in, something that can make a real difference in the world.
He's challenging us to think beyond the superficial markers of success, to focus on the things that truly matter.
And I think that's a really powerful message, especially in today's culture, where entrepreneurship is often glamorized and associated with wealth and status.
It's a reminder that true success isn't measured by how much money you make,
Right.
but by the impact you have and the fulfillment you find in the journey. You know, it's interesting how Descent keeps bringing it back to like having this long-term vision.
Yeah.
He's really pushing back against that whole instant success mentality
Right. It's everywhere these days.
that we see everywhere. It's like he's saying, no, it's about building something sustainable.
Yeah.
Something that can like evolve and adapt over time.
And that takes resilience.
Yeah.
Like it's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it and coming back stronger.
He even talks about how some of his like biggest setbacks
Yeah.
actually led to his most valuable lessons.
He does. It's about embracing the ups and downs
Yeah.
as part of the journey.
This whole conversation has really made me think about like my own assumptions about entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in all the hype.
It is.
But Dessaint really brings us back to those core values.
Right.
The passion, the long-term vision.
Yeah, and he asks some tough questions.
Right.
Like he really encourages aspiring entrepreneurs to be honest with themselves
Yeah.
about their motivations.
Uh-huh.
What are you truly passionate about? What problem are you trying to solve?
Because if it's just about the money or the fame,
Right.
that's not going to sustain you through the tough times.
And he makes a really good point about finding fulfillment in the process, not just the outcome.
Yeah.
It's about aligning your work with your values, creating something that you can be proud of,
Right.
something that has a positive impact.
So it's not just about building a business, it's about building something meaningful.
Yeah. And that's where I think his insights really resonate.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not just offering business advice.
Right.
He's offering a philosophy for life.
It's about like finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where your passion, your skills, and the needs of the market all intersect.
Exactly.
Sounds like a lot of self-reflection is required.
For sure. You got to understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses,
Yeah.
what you're truly driven by
And that's something you can start doing right now.
right now.
Like Dessaint's message is a call to action.
Yeah.
It's not about waiting for the perfect opportunity or having all the answers. It's about taking that first step.
So you're-
For all of you listening out there,
Yeah.
what's one small step that you can take today to move closer to your entrepreneurial aspirations?
It doesn't have to be anything major,
Right.
just something to get you moving in the right direction.
Maybe it's finally starting that business plan
Yeah.
that you've been putting off,
Or reaching out to a mentor.
or just committing to learning more about your field.
Every journey starts with that first step.
It really has been so interesting to deep dive into Fabien Dessaint's insights with you.
Yeah, it's been great.
He's really challenged some of our assumptions about entrepreneurship.
For sure.
But also, I think, really inspired us to approach it with a renewed sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And a long-term vision.
I think the big takeaway here is that true entrepreneurial success, it's not about the Instagram likes or the money.
Right.
It's about the impact you make and the fulfillment you find along the way.
So go out there, find your passion, build something meaningful, and embrace the roller coaster ride that is entrepreneurship.
That's